Hello, my name is Jodi Low, and this is the Leadership Lowdown, powered by the BBB and You and Improved. The Leadership Lowdown cuts through the clutter and gets to the heart of what makes businesses tick. We want to share the stories that matter to you, all of the successes and triumphs and all of the pitfalls, and everything that happens in between. So with that, let's get on to today's show. Well, welcome. I am so happy to have Mr. Jim Floros with us today. So, Executive Director, yes?
Of all the above.
Of all of the above. Let's see. Floros and Associates, clearly. But
Founder and CEO.
Oh, founder and CEO.
Sounds even more important.
Well, that is way more important. My apologies on that. No, I'm so happy to have you here. I know that you are a dear friend of Matt Failing, the president of the BBB, and obviously very connected with the BBB. So we're so happy to have you here today.
Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, so take us a little trip down memory lane, because you, my friend, have a vast pedigree and a ton of knowledge to share. So in our finite amount of time, tell us a little bit about you and what got you to where we are today.
Well, originally I'm a Wisconsin boy who vacationed in San Diego as a young lad and realized that people actually live here year round.
Yes.
And that's why I was eager to get out of Wisconsin. So
that was a good choice.
Drove cross country by myself, like the Beverly Hillbillies, loaded up my car, came out to San Diego, went to college here, and I've been here ever since.
Nice. Where'd you go to college?
University of San Diego.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then back then, when you come out of college, you're not always sure what you're going to do. I thought I want to do PR marketing, so I couldn't get a job because I had no experience. I didn't have a degree in it. I had never written a press release. I didn't have a portfolio. Geez, why wouldn't anybody hire me?
Right.
And so someone said, why don't you do an internship at a nonprofit? They'll pretty much take anybody.
Oh, my goodness.
Go get some experience, and off you go. So my degree was international relations.
Okay.
So he had a contact at the world headquarters of Project Concern International. So I went there as an intern, and I was writing some things, and then they found out that I was successful at fundraising, and they said, well, screw PR, you're now a fundraiser. And it went really well, and then I refused to leave, so they said we should hire him because he won't go. So I was not Johnny Nonprofit. But I became Johnny Nonprofit because I just fell in love with the concept that your life on this earth is very limited, and if you're not making a difference along the way, why bother? And so now I'm 40 years nonprofit and worked for 3 nonprofits, and I was 8 years at Project Concern International, and I went to the Burn Institute, so heavy with the fire service, regional burn center, fire and burn prevention, aftercare programs for burn surviving children, that sort of thing. And then I was there about 18 months. And the executive director fell out of favor with the fire service. The firefighters liked me because probably the mustache. And one thing led to another. She left, and on my 33rd birthday, they appointed me the CEO of the Burn Institute. And back then, CEOs looked like I do now. I mean, they were all in their 50s and 60s, and so I was a 33-year-old CEO, and was there for 20 years. And built that to be the top burn foundation in North America. And then I was recruited to be the CEO of the San Diego Food Bank. 9 years there, led them through COVID. And then now I'm doing my consulting business full time.
Wow. So truly a life of nonprofit work, 40 years in the business or in the industry.
29 as a CEO. I think you age, it's like dog years. You age 7 years for every year you work for a nonprofit. So that's why I look like I'm 150 years old.
Oh my gosh, you are so funny. I love it. So that's quite a career. When you think back, I'm sure that there were things that obviously shaped you along the way. Was there, you kind of explained how you fell into this and how that evolved. Was there someone or something that really propelled you through your career that made you want to continue down that path?
Absolutely. Yeah. And, one of the things, I think I was luckily smart enough that I'm a CEO at 33, and I have no management experience and no management training. Now, I knew I could raise money, but I had a lot to learn. And I think 90% of life is common sense anyway. But I was smart enough to latch on to mentors who, even when I was at Project Concern, there's a gentleman that was from IBM World Headquarters, one of the most influential people in my career, taught me that you run your nonprofit like a business. And you'd be surprised how many nonprofits don't do that. And I was taught that when I was 26, and then just latched onto these people. And as I've gotten older, I mean, it's a little corny, but I've become obsessed with legacy because I realize I'm part of the legacy of these people who took the time to mentor me and help me.
Yeah.
And so when I'm teaching people things, it's things I've learned, but it's also things they taught me. And then hopefully I'm teaching them things that then they'll share with somebody else. So, as I said to you earlier, we all, live our life. It all ends the same way for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not doing something along the way to make the world a better place, then why bother? So I mentor professionals. I've done it even before I had my consulting business, and because people took time for me, now I want to make sure I make time for them.
I love that. You're actually giving me goosebumps because that is completely in alignment with my belief system of really what we're here to do, 100%. what we're here for. So I love that. I love that. And so you had these folks that sort of took you under their wing. Now you get to pay that forward. You also have now, I guess, transitioned out of like a full CEO role and are able to help people in a new way. So tell us a little bit about Floros and Associates and what that looks like today.
Well, for a long time when I was at the Burn Institute, there was no National Burn Institute, and I was the chair of the National Board of Directors, and there are a lot of smaller burn foundations that really, they were very good at what they do, but they were burn nurses and they were firefighters, and they were not nonprofit professionals. So I had a lot of groups asking for my advice. And I thought, well, someday I want to do this full time. And so maybe I should start doing it now. So I charge very little. So that's how I kind of cut my teeth in consulting. But I always thought that someday I would want to do this full time. So I run a nonprofit consulting business with my wife, who's my partner in life and former communications marketing professional and my junior CEO for 28 years. And I think I approach consulting a lot different than a lot of other nonprofit consultants because I really approach it as a CEO, not just a fundraiser. So I'm looking at A to Z. I'm looking at the entire organization. And there's one huge takeaway that I try to do for my organization. I was taught at a young age that you run your nonprofit like a business. And there's a nonprofit business model. And you realize that there's really a great lack of that in the nonprofit sector. I never expect anybody to give me money because it's a good cause. It's really, a lot of times it's a business relationship and it's about ROI and all that. So I had this lesson I learned when I was at the food bank. So I'm at the food bank and we're very successful. We're doing very well. And then the COVID crisis hit. And our motto is you can't make this what up, because it was crazy.
Yeah.
We went from feeding 350,000 to 600,000 people a month overnight. And we were about 4 or 6 weeks into the pandemic, and I was marveling about how well we were doing, better than any food bank in California. And we would, things were changing every 24 hours. We would pivot and adjust, adapt and overcome, pivot. And I realized it was everything we did before COVID is why we were so successful during COVID, because we had built that strong nonprofit business model. We had built a ship to weather the storm. We just didn't know it at the time. And so now I realize with every one of our clients, we come in there and we're trying to create something that's sustainable and that when we're gone, it can function.
Yeah.
And that is the true secret sauce. A lot of consultants come in with nonprofits and say, we're just going to do this campaign. We're going to raise some money and we're going to talk to your board, but we're only going to talk to your board about fundraising. And then they leave. Yeah. And then the agency goes back to doing things the old way. Yeah. But if we can create that systematic nonprofit business model that's sustainable, it'll help weather adversity. And so that, I think, maybe separates us from other consultants.
Interesting. So you're really helping to create that infrastructure
100%
within that organization so that outside of just the fundraising piece, they've got the ability to sustain and thrive through whatever it might be.
Fundraising is always a challenge. The boards are always a challenge, and certainly we spend a lot of time on that. But I'll look at their audit and look at what their functionalization of expenses are. I'm looking at their programs and their measurements and metrics, because sophisticated funders are not going to support an organization unless they can scientifically prove that they're successful. Yeah. Anecdotal information doesn't fly. Like, oh, well, we know we're doing good work, but a funder has so many requests and so little funding, they're going to pick the agencies that they say, yes, we have verifiable data that shows we're really good at this and we're successful at this. So trying to bring all that in and then trying to help them with their boards of directors, because that is one of the greatest challenges in the nonprofit space is the whole board of directors concept.
And when you go in to work with these organizations, are you going into their meetings, their place of business, and auditing first and watching what happens and then come to me?
100%. We'll do like a big assessment to find out everything they're doing. I'll do a board retreat, and I don't not a huge fan of big, fancy strategic plans because they're big and they're fancy and they're pretty, and they should be in a museum under museum glass with a light shining down at it, because once they're done, they go in a drawer and no one ever looks at them. Yeah. So I'm really more about an action plan that's tactical and practical, and it's very very achievable short-term goals. But when I do that retreat, I start the retreat with a nonprofit 101. It's a presentation I've put together through the years. Even showed it to the food bank board when I got there, and it really just talks about best practices. And I'll say to the group, okay, so some of this you're doing, great, but now when we're doing our goal setting, this is what's on the horizon. This is the point on the horizon that we want to move towards, because this is how the best agencies do it. And a lot of them, really intelligent, educated, smart people look at me like I had invented sliced bread.
Wow.
And it's just because they had never been shown.
Yeah.
And once you show them, they go, okay,
this makes sense. This is logical. Yeah.
This is what I've been waiting for. Let's go. And the ones who don't want to be involved in fundraising, then they fade away to the advisory board, and then we recruit new blood who actually knows kind of what the science should be. And that's our secret sauce.
Wow, really, really interesting how you approach it. And when you look at so many of the companies that you've worked with, because I'm assuming you work with multiple, at the same time, is there a common theme or something that you see over and over again as a gap or a miss or a?
Well, I see that, so let's say, because anybody who's a full contract with us for other things also is in the CEO coaching group, and then some are just paying just to be in the coaching group. So we've had, we had probably about 18 or 20 right now. We've probably had a few that have come and left. So there's a couple common themes I've seen. One is that they're all burned out. I mean, and the reason why I left the food bank was because I was burned out. It is so common in the nonprofit space for CEOs to be burnt out, and they all tend to complain about their board of directors. And part of that is not the board's fault. Part of that, I think, the CEO is not doing a good enough job managing their board. There's an old joke: you manage your board without them knowing that you're managing them, but deep down they know you're managing them and they want to be managed.
Right.
Because these are people who have careers, lives, things going on, right? And they just want you just to say, keep an eye on the financials, make sure everything is on the up and up, and it's it's a reputable organization. But the board really wants the staff to say, this is what we have going on. This is how you can help. So that board member can check in, do what they got to do, and then go back to their lives and their families and all the other things that they have going on. So, it's kind of like, like when you have a underperforming employee, and then the first person I look to at is the manager. I'm like, okay, have you made the expectations clear? Do they really know what they're supposed to be doing? Are you giving them all the resources and all the information to really build them up to be successful? Well, no, they should know that. No, they don't. So when I hear a CEO complain about their board, I'm like, well, are you doing everything in your, in your power to support them to help you be successful? And you're here every day because you get paid for this. Yeah. So don't expect them to come up with stuff. In fact, you really don't want them to come up with stuff because they're really good people, but they may come up with some ideas that are really not great.
Right.
But they're the board.
And are missing the mark.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, but then suddenly you're doing stuff that is not the right thing to do because a board member trying to justify their existence just came up with some dumbass idea, and all the other board members don't want to hurt their feelings, so they say, yes, let's try that.
It's managing emotions.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
So anybody who knows me, any of my clients, they'll say, oh, he's telling that story again. So I've had this one story. I learned by doing. Yeah. Right? And I think that's one of my favorite quotes is Albert Einstein said, the greatest source of knowledge is experience. So I'm the poster child for that. Okay. Just for doing things. So I'm at the Burn Institute. This is mid 90s, and there was a wildfire right off of Freeway 8, right? So it's right down the middle, and it's there was a Normal Heights fire, and the fire flew up the hillside and burned houses down, and everybody is freaked out because wildfires were in the backcountry, not in the middle of city limits, and houses burned, so everybody's freaked out. So this is like my maybe second board meeting as a young CEO who doesn't know a lot about anything. Yeah. So my board chair is a very nice man, and he was a plastic surgeon, and that relates to the burn unit and reconstructive surgery. So it made sense that he was the board chair. And I got a few fire chiefs that are on the board and fire service. And so I'm sitting there. It's like maybe a second board meeting, And he says, we should launch a campaign where we remove all the native vegetation from all the canyons in San Diego and plant ice plant, which is the dumbest idea ever. Right. So I'm looking down, and I don't want to even look up and make eye contact because I'm afraid if I make eye contact, then I've verified his idea, and now, and that's not good. So I'm looking down, and then I look off to my right, and all these fire chiefs are sitting next to me, and they're all looking down too because they don't want to look up and acknowledge the fact, and they don't want to be rude or disrespectful. But this is the dumbest idea ever.
Right.
And I thought to myself, and like I said, I'm 33. I thought, I got to keep this guy working on the stuff I know we need to be doing.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm planting ice plant.
Yeah.
And so if you talk to any of my clients, you say, yeah, plant an ice plant. They go, yeah, Jim told
you the story.
Jim told you the story way too many times. But it was that moment of, you really need to control the space. And board members, they want to help.
Yeah.
But they don't, they're not experts in nonprofit, and they're not necessarily experts in what the agency does, yet they feel like they got to justify their existence, so they come up with an idea. It may be a good idea, because those happen, but sometimes it doesn't fit with what we're doing or where we're going or what's in our best interest, and that's a slippery slope for a CEO.
Yeah.
So I always tell them, control the space. Control that void. Control the space, and then let the board members give input and support you and make what you think is best better. Yeah, that's the role of a board member.
Yeah, no, I mean it makes perfect sense. And to your point, you're on a board and contributing in that capacity in order to serve, and in order to give back and to do good work and contribute. And 100%. In the same respect, if you're not in the thick of it every day like that CEO and that team, and so you just
team
don't
up
know.
For success.
Exactly.
I've told this story so many times that I had. He was running the NBC affiliate here. He was on my board, and he's on like 4 or 5 boards, and he's running a TV station. And so this guy's busy. And at the end of the meeting, he says, okay, I got to make that phone call. I got to send that email. I got to do that thing. And then he's checked in. He knows what 3 things he has to do. And then he checks out. So if I have a board of 20 or 25 board members and they're all doing 3 things, that's powerful.
Yes.
And that's keep it simple. Don't give them more information than they need. If they ask, then you tell them. But just keep it really simple and keep them all feeling like they're contributing.
Absolutely. And they know their action items, and they can go execute without 100%. It being overwhelming and taking you off into a tangent that isn't.
100%.
That's ice plant. We don't want ice plant.
No ice plant.
So when you're working obviously with these nonprofit CEOs, there, I'm assuming, is a big difference in mentality, skill set between a for-profit CEO and a nonprofit CEO, or is there not? Is there something that you look for that you're like, well, those are the qualities that really make an amazing nonprofit?
Well, everything's personal relationships, so for-profit or nonprofit. So when I first came to the food bank, this is an interesting question. So when I first came to the food bank, someone said every CEO has a coach, for-profit or nonprofit. I didn't know that. So I was invited to join this group, and their model was 10 for-profit CEOs and 1 nonprofit CEO, and the nonprofit CEO didn't have to pay. So I'm in this group of all these for-profits, and I'm thinking maybe I don't fit in here. And they're talking about things that, I don't understand, like selling their business and that sort of thing. But then, a little bit into it, I realized that the food bank was bigger than 3/4 of the companies. I had more employees. I had higher levels of efficiency, effectiveness, better culture, because that is demanded of nonprofits, because we are so scrutinized and under the microscope, and everybody's watching what we're doing. So we're forced to have that high level of excellence. And some of the for-profits, they just want to make a profit and sell their company. And so at the end, I was teasing them. I'm going to write a book that you should run your for-profit like a nonprofit. And I didn't think that was very funny. So I think the systems are the same, relationships are the same, fundraising is sales, marketing is key to that, culture is king. It's something I really embraced and learned that's important is culture, and I think that works for any company.
Yeah, that part's universal.
That's a great question, by the way.
Yeah, good. And I also, you mentioned burnout, and I want to just take a moment to spend there, because I do feel it in the work I do. I own a leadership training company, and it is something that I see now more than ever, really. It gets to that point where people are just overwhelmed and stressed out and feel buried. So when you see this in your space, from your lens, what does that look like? What are there key indicators? Are there things that you're looking for when you're working with your CEOs and your coaching groups?
One of the things that being a nonprofit CEO is very unique. And I would say the only person that really knows that journey is another nonprofit CEO. And I think that's what my clients enjoy about me. Because if you think about it, all right, so you're the head of this organization, you work for a board of directors who are volunteers, which means they have other stuff going on in their life. And they're not necessarily experts in the cause or the experts in running a nonprofit, yet they make the most important decisions. So you do manage up. And then now in this position, everybody is coming at you all the time. So it's your board, it's donors, it's the government, it's, it's media, it's elected officials, donors. Everybody is on you, service population. Everybody is on you all the time, and it's all on your shoulders.
Yes.
And I always make the joke that when you see a nonprofit CEO, they're carrying this 10,000-pound invisible weight that only another nonprofit CEO sees. And you say, oh, there goes one right there.
Yeah.
And so when I see them when they walk in because part of our CEO group is we meet once a month for 4 hours, and I see them walking in, and they got their shoulders kind of hunched, and they're carrying the weight of the world. And the thing that I used to do, and I think all of them do, and this was probably a mistake on my part, especially like at the food bank, or even the Burn Institute, I felt if I failed, people suffer. And I put that pressure on myself, which is really probably not fair.
Right.
So if I failed, people are not getting fed. Young burn survivors are not getting the support that they need. And we put that burden on ourselves, which is really unfair.
Yeah.
And it's a killer.
Yeah.
But there's this other side of it that when you're successful, there's no greater high.
Yeah.
And when you do that, or I was at a food distribution, or a mother comes up to me and she's crying because what we did for their kid, or this woman would say, we wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for the food bank, with tears in their eyes, you're like, oh yeah, that's why I do this. And so I'm willing to sacrifice that nobility of self-sacrifice for a greater good and to our own detriment.
Yeah. Well, and it is a lot of weight to carry on one person's shoulders. And granted, you have an amazing team and others to support that. However, it's still ultimately you as the CEO.
And everyone's burned out, and I've actually seen them, and maybe I'm imagining it. We actually meet right here at the BBB. That I see them walk through that threshold, the doorway, when they come in, and their shoulders are kind of hunched over, and then their shoulders come out.
You feel them.
They go for 4 hours, because basically what I've put together, so I've been told, is a support group for nonprofit CEOs.
Which, what a beautiful space that you've created, because no one can really understand that like somebody who's been in that space for 40 years. I mean, you know it so intimately.
They share challenges that they have. Yeah. Everybody shares a challenge, and then we get as many as we can. But now you have 8 or 10 other nonprofit CEOs helping you through your challenge, or just hearing what you have to say.
Yeah.
And they say, that happened to me, because it's pretty commonplace.
Yeah. Well, it's the support system. It's the idea sharing. It's all of that.
100%.
The connection, the networking. I love that. I love the work that you're doing. Fantastic. Thank you for that. I love that you're doing this. It's important. I shared with you before we jumped on camera and on air that I have some questions that I wanted to ask. So as a part of the Leadership Lowdown,
right now.
Do not be afraid, my friend. This is easy stuff, but it's fun stuff. So I think it's important to understand the person behind the business, and a person gets kind of what makes you tick, makes Jim. So to start us off, what is your favorite word?
Philotimo.
Yeah. Okay. So I saw that, and I want to understand what that's about. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you.
I love that you did too. So I'm Greek.
Okay.
Floros is Greek.
Yeah.
And I was taught a word, and it's Philotimo. And what they say is Philotimo is a word that has no definition, that means everything to being Greek. You cannot be Greek if you don't have Philotimo. So it's pride of family, pride of community, doing things for other people without expecting anything in return. It's about social responsibility. It's about doing the right thing.
Yes.
There's this great video on YouTube. It's about 12, 14 minutes. And there's this one soundbite, and it's a father talking about their son who is acting up. The father says to the son, don't you have Philotimo? When you leave our home, you take our family name with you and our reputation. The world is more about just you. And so when I was looking for a name for my CEO group, I said, I want to find something that people go, what the hell is that?
Right.
And I've achieved that.
Yeah.
But
well done.
Anybody in the nonprofit has Philotimo, because it's self-sacrifice and helping people. That's what nonprofit people do. So it's the perfect name for
that. Is the perfect name, and what a perfect word. I love
cool.
that. So do you have a least favorite word? Well,
that's a phrase maybe. We can't do that, or we never did it that way. Something like that.
Yeah. Something that's impeding progress or creativity or flow or productivity or anything.
No, I don't like no.
Can't do it. Yeah, I love that. What turns you on, whether it's creatively, spiritually, emotionally? Like, what just lights you up?
Well, I have 2 sons.
Okay.
33 and 26.
Okay.
And that is, people can compliment me on anything I've achieved in my career. It's those 2 fine young men. That's my greatest achievement in life. So
give me goosebumps again, Jim.
So anytime I can spend time with them, doing what I love. So we're diehard Pottery fans. I've been season ticket holders for 39 years. Anyway, for a long time. And so if I'm at a Potter's game with my 2 boys, and I'm also a very avid golfer.
Okay.
So if I'm on the golf course with my 2 sons, like I was yesterday, that's my best day ever.
Your best day.
When I'm just with them, that's my legacy. Right?
That's so true.
Yeah, so
I love that.
That's what I live for.
That's amazing. So is there something that just turns you off?
Negative people. I don't know why. I had a great mother, but I'm a glass half full person. I always see the positive in everything. And you kind of, something I've said to people I've mentored or employees, you're on this journey and you're in this spot. And you can either have a good attitude or a bad attitude, but you're in the same spot.
Yeah.
So you might as well have a good attitude and make the best out of what you can do, because there's a positive in everything. And people, one of my mentors once said, if you look for the good in someone, you'll find it. So it's the same kind of thing. I always have a positive attitude, and I'm the king of the benefit of the doubt, which comes back to screw me like every time. But I would rather live my life being positive, having a positive outlook, and giving people the benefit of the doubt. I
100% ascribe to exactly what you're saying. So I get that.
I just don't dig negativity, because it's just that and drama. It's just exhausting.
Just a drainer. Just a super drainer. I 100% agree. 100% agree. So what sound or noise do you love?
That's interesting. Crack of the bat, baseball.
Love that.
Yeah. I love it. The wooden bat, the crack of the
wooden
bat.
I
love that sound.
That's great. At Padres games, there you go.
There you go.
With your voice.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
And what sound or noise do you hate?
When someone's emptying the dishwasher and they're throwing the silverware into the silverware drawer, and for some reason it's like for me, it's like somebody scratching
nails on a chalkboard. Yeah.
And I think, I don't, it's like, just put it.
Just gently,
I don't know why that is, but yeah.
That's so fun. It's very specific. So you've seriously spent some time on this.
Exactly, yeah.
So when you think back, you've had 40 years in your career space. Is there a profession, again, and take money, talent, skills aside, let's say you had anything you wanted, what profession would you love to attempt it?
If it wasn't this one?
Yeah. I love that you actually asked that question.
Yeah,
and prefaced it.
I'm just so happy about my legacy and what I've done. So I think I did well. Is there and I could do any profession?
Any profession, and you had the skill to do it, and money and skills didn't matter, but something you would just love to have attempted.
Professional baseball player.
Okay.
Yeah,
back to the crack of the bat.
We're a big baseball family, right?
Yeah.
I love baseball, and I love the feeling about it, and there's the game within the game, and it's really, I think, one of the hardest sport.
Yeah.
And so that was, of all the sports I played, that's my favorite.
That would be the one. Okay. Yeah. And is there a profession that you're like, I don't know how people do it. I would never like to do that.
I don't know. People pick up dead bodies from the mortuary or from the mortuary.
I think I'm there with you.
That'd be a tough gig.
That would be a tough one.
Yeah. And so I think something
death related.
Like
yeah. I'm with you. And finally, on this track, if heaven exists, what would you love to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Job well done, my man, my sir, my boy.
Yeah.
Your life has meant something, and good job.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I love the legacy piece of what you're sharing. I feel like, and I don't know if it's just, it comes with age, but I'm 52, I'll be 53 in the fall. And I think for me, I think about that more and more and more. It becomes so top of mind and so prevalent in almost every thought and decision. And I really get what you're saying there.
And when I'm at your age, so like the 30s, you're trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
And that's what's confusing for everybody. In the 40s, you get to start using that.
Yeah.
And then in the 50s, you start appreciating what you're doing and spending more time doing the things you're good at that you really enjoy. So it's fun to be on that journey.
Yeah, it's the whole trajectory of your life, and you get to see it unfold, and then you get to reflect back, and then you get to think, what's the impact I'm going to make? So I love this.
That's a great compliment.
Yeah, that's great. So being that this is the Leadership Lowdown, I love to ask our guests, you've had such an amazing career and worked with so many people in so many industries and helped so many people. Is there a piece of advice, word of wisdom, whether it's something that you've learned or something that someone taught you along the way that you would love to share with our listeners and viewers?
Well, care about people. You know, that's and culture. If you're building an organization, I had the opportunity to play golf with Ken Blanchard. He was the king of culture, and he said, you know, and Peter Drucker said, you know, culture eats experience for lunch or something like that.
Breakfast, but close enough.
Breakfast, yeah, exactly. It's about culture. It's about people. If you care about people, care about your employees, care about your service population, because that's what life is all about. Absolutely. How can you not care about people?
You are a kindred spirit and 100% in alignment, which I knew from the moment I met you. But yes, I 100% believe in that as well. And when you shape that and create that and are conscious about it and create a culture of like-minded people that want to serve and give.
And be kind.
Be kind. It's really not that tough. But if you find that within you and have empathy and humility and just say, how do I contribute and how do we all work together to lock arms and do greater good?
Random acts of kindness.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a Midwestern thing too.
Yeah. That's the Wisconsin in you.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is.
Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your heart and your illustrious career and all of the things that you've accomplished. This was so much fun.
You're awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Jim. And thank you for joining us with that. This has been the Leadership Lowdown. My name is Jodi Low, and remember, leaders are learners. So remain curious and keep leading with love. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.